There comes a moment in life when nothing around you is actually wrong, yet everything inside your head feels hostile. You wake up tired, not from work, but from the same thoughts repeating themselves overnight. Regret, doubt, imaginary arguments, conversations that never happened, mistakes that are already over, but refuse to leave. You try to focus, but your mind keeps pulling you backward or pushing you into fear, and slowly, without noticing, your own thoughts become your greatest enemy. Stoicism begins with a brutal realization. Not every thought is yours, and not every thought deserves your attention. A disciplined life does not start by fixing the world. It starts by reclaiming control over the mind that interprets it. Because the man who cannot command his thoughts will never command his time, his focus, or his life. Now, most people believe that every thought they have deserves analysis. They assume that if a thought appears, it must be important. It must be answered. It must be solved. The Stoics rejected this completely. They understood that the mind produces thoughts the way the body produces sweat. Automatically, constantly, and without meaning. A thought is not a command. It is not a truth. It is not a responsibility. When you treat every thought as urgent, you live in permanent distraction. Your focus fractures. Your energy leaks. Stoic discipline begins the moment you learn to pause and ask one question: does this thought deserve my attention? Most do not. And the moment you stop engaging with mental noise, clarity returns, calm returns, and control quietly follows. Way 1. Starve the thought by refusing engagement. Toxic thoughts survive on one thing: your participation. They don't become powerful because they appear. They become powerful because you argue with them. You explain, you replay, you try to figure them out, and every time you do, you feed them. The Stoics understood this clearly. They didn't fight thoughts with better thoughts. They withdrew attention. A toxic thought is like a fire. Oxygen keeps it alive. Attention is the oxygen. When a destructive thought arises, do nothing. Don't debate it. Don't label it. Don't try to fix it. Simply refuse engagement. Starved of attention, the thought weakens. Left unfed, it collapses. Control is not suppression. It is restraint. And restraint is where mental discipline begins. Way 2. Replace interpretation with observation. Most mental suffering is not caused by events. It is caused by the stories you attach to them. Someone doesn't reply. You interpret rejection. A plan fails. You interpret personal failure. A look, a tone, a silence. And your mind fills in the worst possible meaning. The Stoics cut this habit at the root. They separated what happened from what you tell yourself about what happened. Facts are neutral. Interpretations are optional. When you train yourself to observe without commentary, to see events without adding judgment, to register reality without dramatizing it, toxic thoughts lose their grip. Focus returns the moment you stop narrating your life. Clarity is not created by thinking more. It appears when you think less. And observe more. Way 3. Use voluntary discomfort to regain mental control. A restless mind is often the result of an overly comfortable life. When everything is easy, the mind turns inward and creates problems to stay occupied. This is where toxic thoughts thrive. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort for a reason. Cold, hunger, physical effort, chosen hardship. Not as punishment, but as training. Discomfort forces the mind back into the present. It reminds you who is in control. Not the thought, not the mood, but you. After physical strain, mental noise quiets down. Anxieties shrink. Overthinking loses momentum. A disciplined body stabilizes a wandering mind. When you willingly face discomfort, your thoughts learn an important lesson. They no longer decide your behavior, and focus returns naturally. Way 4. Eliminate mental noise at the source. You cannot have a calm, focused mind while constantly feeding it chaos. Every piece of information you consume becomes material for future thoughts. News, drama, social media, other people's problems. Most toxic thoughts are not created internally, they are imported. The Stoics understood this long before modern distraction. They were ruthless about what entered the mind. If you want fewer destructive thoughts, reduce the inputs that generate them. Less scrolling, less commentary, less unnecessary conversation. Silence is not emptiness. It is filtration. When you guard what enters your mind, your thoughts naturally become quieter. Focus strengthens without effort. Mental discipline is not about control after the fact. It is about prevention. And prevention begins at the source. Way 5. Anchor the mind to one. Chosen duty. A wandering mind is rarely a broken one. It is an uncommitted one. Toxic thoughts grow strongest when you have nothing solid to return to. No clear responsibility, no defined task. The Stoics anchored their minds to duty. Not many duties. 1. When your mind drifts, you don't argue with it. You bring it back to the task you chose in advance. One action, one obligation, executed without negotiation. Purpose narrows attention. Responsibility silences distraction. Focus is not created by motivation. It is created by commitment. When the mind knows where it belongs, it stops wandering. And when your thoughts serve a clear duty, they no longer work against you. They fall back into order. Weak minds wander. Disciplined minds decide. A weak mind is not loud. It is undirected. It moves from thought to thought, emotion to emotion, reaction to reaction, without choosing any of them. This is not a lack of intelligence. It is a lack of discipline. A disciplined mind does not wait to see how it feels. It decides. It decides which thoughts are allowed to stay. It decides where attention goes. It decides what matters and what does not. The Stoics never chased mental comfort. They chased mental authority. To decide is to take control. To wander is to surrender it. Every moment you choose your response, you strengthen the mind that leads you, and over time, that mind becomes steady, focused, unshakable. Not because the world became quieter, but because you did. Mental freedom is authority. Mental freedom does not come from silencing every negative thought. That battle is endless and unnecessary. It comes from understanding this one truth. You do not have to obey what appears in your mind. Thoughts will come and go. Some are useful, most are not. The Stoic does not fight them. He selects. When you stop granting attention to mental noise, clarity returns on its own. Focus stabilizes. Calm becomes natural. This is not comfort, it is authority. Authority over your reactions, authority over your time, authority over the direction of your life. The mind that once distracted you can now serve you. And when your thoughts are disciplined, nothing external needs to be controlled, because the strongest form of power has always been self-command.